to think out something quite different from the normal leadership, economic development, and all that. Today I'll be focusing on something that is quite serious in the sense that it has actually caused a lot of rifts, a lot of challenges among people, among many Africans, non-Africans alike. And I'm going to be doing this series that I call Sex, Relationship, and Marriage series. Sex, Relationship, and Marriage series. So today I'll be talking about 6 or more major blunt truths that you need to know about sex, about relationship, about marriage. Many people, many of you must have actually read a lot of books. You must have actually heard a lot of things about sex, and you're wondering, what is he going to talk about? You're wondering, what's he going to tell me about marriage? Okay, let me just let you know something that my marriage is about 15 years. This is 2021. And at least I have 1 or 2 things to tell people who are less than that in marriage, and also people who are more than that age in marriage. I started a series on a platform that I entitled Beyond 25. All over the world, we found out that many marriages do not last anymore, more than 3-4 years. I've seen marriages that have just lasted for 2 weeks. I've been able to see relationships that have stayed more than 40 years. But there's one thing that we need to understand, especially those of us who are Christians, especially those of us who go to church. Civilization, globalization, and the internet, social media has affected to a reasonable extent the way people see things, the way people reason. There's a lot of mentorship that is going on online that people have now come to the point where they can actually ask a lot of questions, their views. You can't negate that fact. You cannot force people not to go to the internet. You cannot force people not to have access to certain information that they need to have access. But one of the things we're doing here is to bring a certain level of balance and mentorship for the young people, especially people who are not married, even those who are married, so that you can actually make adjustments in your marriage. For those of you who are married, it is also important you give attention to such. But I believe that within a space of time, as we take up this training session, this discussion session, you're going to have a lot of information at your disposal. It's also important for you to know that whatever I'm going to sing here is going to affect those who are Christians, those who are not Christians, those who go to church. I'm going to try as much as possible to have a balance in all of them. Why it is important for you to look at a certain standard of measurement, approval, or recognition, authority over the things that you do. Let me start by letting people know that there's a lot of discussion on sexual orientation. Sexual orientation in the sense that there are people who are bisexual, there are people who are asexual, there are people who are pansexual. So, people have this kind of mindset that, listen to me, you may be able to get reasons why some people get into sex. People want to get into sex before maybe they want to give birth. For those who are married, they want to give birth. Some persons want to get into sex. So many people have got into sex maybe because they're emotionally traumatized. I've had a lot of people get into sexual distraction, sexual perversion. Maybe the guy got wounded at workplace, or the lady got wounded at workplace. Maybe he or she lost his or her job and then meet someone that he or she is in love with. And before you know it, one thing will lead to another. And before you know it, they have had sex. And most of them come out regretting about those things about yourself, and also manage relationships that you have with people. So relationship can be horizontal, it can also be diagonal, and it can also be vertical. Relationships are very, very important in people's lives. Then the issue of marriage. These are the 3 areas we're going to focus in this series. But for today, I'm going to share with you some blunt truths that everyone that wants to have a healthy relationship, everyone that wants to have a workable family, everyone that wants to have a strong sexual relationship with the opposite sex for a long time without actually messing himself or herself up, you need to give attention to this. The first blunt truth that everyone must listen and everyone who is watching me must understand this is that you are not expected. In fact, you should not get into a relationship with someone that you do not have attraction for. You should not get into a relationship with someone that you do not have a physical attraction for. It is advisable not to get into a relationship with someone that you are not comfortable moving alongside with. I don't know how I'm going to explain that to you. You'll find out that a lot of people, especially church people, who have had a lot of preaching, who have had a lot of talk, who have had a lot of trainings before now, that don't look at the person's outward appearance, don't look at the person's physical makeup. And a lot of people have gone into a relationship that has actually been built on that kind of system. But over time, you find out that the man is now finding attraction towards his house help who has the curves, or towards someone that is working with him at the office because the lady is very, very beautiful. You find out that people will always say, okay, the reason why you don't need to marry a woman because of her beauty, because beauty will fade. That's good. Or maybe you just say that I don't marry somebody because of the person's curves, because the curves will fade when the person gets old. But one thing I was keep asking those people is that, let's say for instance, you marry somebody, both of you are 23 years or 24 years, maybe the lady is about 18 or 23 years of the same age with you. As people are growing up together with the curves, with the big beards, with the bad head, and all the rest of them, all of you are growing together, and you find out that the attraction still remains at the same level of your maturity and your growth towards becoming either a younger person, a younger adult, or old people. So it is important that if you want to marry, if you want to get into any relationship as a young man and as a young woman, you must make sure that you critically ask yourself this question: will you be comfortable enough to introduce this person to your friends? Will you be comfortable enough to walk leg by leg, hand by hand with the person as a married people? As married people, will you be able to do that? Are you comfortable with that? Most of the times people say it's all about love. Yes, but you find out that love must also have a strong attachment to physical compatibility. Let me also put this caveat here. A lot of people are just trying to say, maybe you're watching this video live and all that, and the person may be just saying, oh, what is the place of spirituality? Yes, there's a role spirituality also has to play, but we're looking at physical attraction because there is a lot of pictures of women that are online, and men naturally want to look. And if there is any other attraction that seeks to compete with the person that he has decided to work with, the tendency for the man to begin to give attention to such kind of person is there. So if you're a man that you want to get married, please carefully, prayerfully pray, but also make sure that you go after or work towards making sure that the person that you are relating with has good attraction that you desire. If you don't like fair women, please let nobody deceive you going after a fair woman. If you don't like dark women, please do not allow anybody to deceive you going after dark women. If you don't like somebody that is short, please do not get yourself associated with someone that is short. If you like a huge guy, fine, as a lady, there is nothing wrong with that. But you need to also understand that it is your physical attraction that is important at this particular point in time. A lot of people have neglected the issue of physical attraction in their quest for strong and powerful relationships. So if you're a young man and you're not yet married, you must make sure that you give attention to the physical attraction of the person that you intend getting married to. If you're a young lady and you're not yet married, you need to also make out time to give attention to the person that you want to give attention to. So somebody will be saying, are you subscribing that we are now becoming carnal, quote unquote, for those of us who are Christians? Are we now just going to be giving attention to physical attraction? Follow us in this series of teaching and I'm going to explain the place of spirituality, or making sure you look at the person's character when it has to do with engaging yourself in a relationship. I've also found out that a lot of people have come up with this mindset that they just happen to get married to somebody, and before you know, you must be open enough to ask critical questions before you get into a marriage relationship that may culminate into sexual relationship. Make sure that you spend time to ask questions. Yes, I know a lot of churches, I know a lot of religious groups that do not allow intending couples or young people to come together. I grew up from that kind of a church system. I think I can remember the first time I hugged, not really hug, just shoulder hug. I hugged an age mate then. I think I was still 8 now. May her soul rest in peace. And everybody shouted at me, why should you do that? Why should you hug her in the church? What is that? And all the rest of the, they will always keep the different chair, this other side for the women, and then they keep the other chair or the other side for the men. How am I going to ask him? Okay, don't ask him. By the time you get into marriage, you discover that the guy has deceived you. And then you find that, I told you that it's going to be blunt truths. Ask him, do you have an erection at all? Hey, why should I ask? Ask the lady, have you had abortion before? Do you feel sexually aroused? A young man got into frustration, questions that I need to, if I want to get into that relationship further, I can actually get into it. Listen, this is the 21st century, and in the next 10 years, things are going to be very, 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 very tough. Things are going to be very, very, very breastless. I'm a breastless woman. You either decide to go with me or we call it quit here. And that's a very sincere person. As she said, most of them would like, okay, I like you for one breast. So some of them said, I don't want to go on working. And they remove one of her breasts. And her husband told her something and said, I didn't marry you because of your breast. I can manage one. And you find out that the marriage is going on, and each of them different strokes with different strikes, and they are making progress, and relationship is working perfectly well. If you get married, if you deceive somebody, and maybe you're watching me, you deceive somebody, and you don't have breast, and you happen to deceive somebody, you foamed yourself, all those things that ladies use to foam, you foam yourself up, and then the person gets to get married to you and opens up and discover that the place is like very, very flat, like fried egg. Sorry about that. Stirred up in the family, is going to be slipping out. The person will have to now start going to someone else, and before you know it, you can contact disease. Before you know it, the person can get pregnant. You can have your husband maybe having an affair with someone else. Or if you are a man that you are important, and I have a lot of stories I'm going to share with you in the process about people who were impotent. They didn't tell the lady, and before you know it, they covered up with religion, they covered up with church, they covered up with prayers. You didn't open up, you pray a lot in the church, the person likes you, you pray a lot, you give offering, you sow your seed, and all the rest of them, and before you know it, you guys are married, and the guy cannot have an erection. The guy is sterile, or the guy is impotent, or the guy is suffering from premature ejaculation. Listen to me, I'm going to take out some time to talk to you about premature ejaculation, sin and deliverance for several people who are going to be watching me and those who are going to come across this video. I decided to do this by taking some time to do a critical analysis. And for your information, before you misunderstand me, I'm a lab scientist. Number 2, I'm a lawyer. Number 3, I'm a pastor. So I understand these three and they are working together. So please ask the guy, Afana, babe, what's up? What's going on? And please, if you have had an abortion, explain and let the person know the rate and the level of the abortion that you had. whether they removed your womb. If the person really loves you, the person goes ahead. Don't plunge people into certain levels of disaster just because you want to cover up. I want to talk to especially those of them that go to church, especially those of them that hide in the church and sing in the choir, those of them who are pastors, those of them who are good people, spiritual people, they go for evangelism. You don't want to talk about this. And once you get into that relationship, everything scatters. So it's important to ask critical questions about culture, critical questions about the things that you believe in, critical questions about every aspect of your life. And you need to also know that you don't need to ostracize or stigmatize somebody for telling you his or her past behavior. This is wrong. The person can sue you to court and you pay heavy damages for such kind of reduction in the person's standard of living or life in society. Can make money from you. If somebody happens to open up, maybe he or she had an abortion, she has lost her womb or lost one, or the man had a surgery and lost one of his testes and he cannot ejaculate, he doesn't have erection properly and all the rest of them, or someone is involved in masturbation and he tells you and then you're now using it against the person. Let it just be an information between you and the person. Once the information leaks out, the person can sue you for damages and you're going to pay heavily. And you know what? I'm going to be the lawyer and I'm going to make some money from you also. So it's important to ask the question, compatibility, physical compatibility is critical. I have been very, very careful not to talk about the issue of the spiritual because this is where most people major. But I'm going to talk about that maybe probably before I close or in the next edition. The third thing I'm going to be saying before I call it a day today, as you subscribe for further direction and talk in this regard, is this. Never you have any relationship or discuss anything about strong relationship like marriage with somebody that you do not have a compatibility of vision. When I mean compatibility of vision, I'm talking about this is what this person likes. This is what this person has passion for. It is very, very important. You wouldn't know who will die first. I will always advise that husbands and wives, even though that they may not be able to do the same job, especially those of us in Africa, maybe your husband is a lawyer and the wife is, let's say, as a person, do you share the same ideas? It mustn't really be career. Do you have the same passion? Do you have the same desire? If the guy is into fashion, if the lady is into fashion, or the lady is into, what do they call it again? She's a fashionista, she's into manicure and pedicure, or the guy is into their toes, cleaning them up, or the women placing their legs on his laps, and you saw him, and this is the guy's business. You don't wake up tomorrow and come and tell him, I'm married, stop allowing ladies to put their legs on your laps. You're going to have a problem with yourself because I'm one kind of person I like talking. I'm one kind of person I like relating with people. I preach a lot. I sing also. I make a lot of noise when I sing. In fact, I can hardly sleep without playing music on my head. So I have to tell my wife that this is me for you. And you find out that I relate with a lot of people of the opposite sex. They call me anytime and they will discuss and they will chat. So if you're a very jealous person, please don't go close. Don't ever go close to somebody that's a public speaker, someone that's a celebrity. Everybody must go to that person. I'm talking about male and female alike. Or you have somebody that the person doesn't like going out. And please, if you don't like going out, don't marry a man that likes going out. Because the person is going to go out and come back late. And once the person comes back late, you're going to die on that depression, you're going to die on that frustration. Because going out is part of him. And those of you who don't like people who sit down and read a lot, so you also need to begin to look at that. It is very, very important. The area of the person's passion, the person's vision, the person's directives. So once you begin to give attention to that, you'll discover that you're going to have a very wonderful relationship. You're going to have a very wonderful sexual life. You're going to have a very powerful marriage relationship should in case you guys get married. So, okay, what are the things I've been able to say? Number one, never you marry somebody that you wouldn't have a physical attraction towards, that you're not willing. This person said, that's my friend. And you can't be bold enough to say, this is my husband, this is that. You must make sure that you open up and ask questions. Open up is very important. You can't come up and try to convince somebody or talk the person out of the thing that he or she has passion for. The person that is going to talk me out of preaching, talk me out of talking, talk me out of reading, talk me out of singing and dancing has not been born. So this is part of the things that I do, and I like it. So there's someone also who likes going out, who likes hanging out with friends, and if you don't like it, please don't get into that relationship because you're going to have a problem. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is all we have for you today. Please tune in same time as I get connected with you. My name is Basikenna Emmanuel. I'm the lead pastor of the Faith House Transformation Assembly, and I'm bringing across your path today sex, relationship, and marriage management. And today we focused on 3 blunt truths that you need to hear. So please, if you have any question, you have anybody that is a friend who is having a challenge, please do share the link with the person. Let the person listen to, share to every young man and every young woman that is into a relationship, that is about to get into a relationship. And also make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel, because we're going to be dropping those things consistently. Your marriage will work, your relationship will be fine. Everything about you will work in the precious mighty name of Jesus Christ. I pray for everyone that is sick, everyone that has a certain level of impotency. I ask that God shall grant you healing. I pray that you shall experience deliverance. I silence every sickness in your sexual organs. I break every limitations in your sexual relationship, sexual orientation. I silence everything that